right, this is our first test of doing a live stream from YouTube. In the future, as I continue to learn, I will definitely schedule them and figure out how to send out invites. But learned a lot from yesterday with respect to YouTube in general, cover those kind of admin comments. So everybody, I got some feedback that couldn't see or couldn't make comments on videos. And I realized that after Googling it, I had inappropriately labeled what my page was. And then when you label a YouTube video or page for children, their comments are automatically turned off. So I've changed that. The content's not changing as far as whether or not someone can view it. But you can now comment, which is good. In the live streams, these videos theoretically have not done it yet, this being the first one, but they will also save into the videos. I'm grateful that we've gotten over 50 subscriptions. So now that I can do increased content, these live videos will be there. I won't have to do the shorter versions. And then we can also have live chat participation if anybody wants to jump in, which would probably be more educational on the more in-depth looks into cancer, the treatment, the surgeries, and all the things that we talk that specifically, but obviously also for the mentor sessions and just my thoughts on what's going on in life and leaving a legacy for our daughters and our grandchildren. We will have those up and always looking for good topics to discuss. So that's where we stand with the YouTube channel. And thanks again for everyone that has subscribed. And if you think it's going to be helpful or encouraging to others that are either facing cancer, the search pro words, I added those specifically for cancer, appendiceal goblet cell cancer, and a few others. So hopefully that will help folks if they are searching within YouTube and then on the internet. And I will add additional as folks recommended or we come up with them. For the where we stand with treatment process yesterday, we went through the Navy Clinic across the street at Makalapa, great team over there, and they were able to get all the blood drawn for the various requirements for chemo screening to make sure my counts, really just a baseline at this point, but also having 2 surgeries back to back, it's normal. Post-surgery, especially the first one, was pretty invasive. To have your white blood cell count go down a little bit, and mine did slightly, but not drastically or in a bad way. And the healing process, and as the body focuses on that and I get better, the white blood cell count's going back up. We are set. I have one more appointment today, this afternoon, and then tomorrow at 9:30 we head over to Tripler. It's a 10:30 start time. From my research on K-pox specifically, it's a mix of the IV and the pills, and the IV session should last about 2 hours in the chair. Obviously there's some admin stuff up front, validating with the provider where I'm at, and they pull the IV drugs. I also get issued the pills that I will subsequently take the next 14 days. And we'll continue to document kind of how I feel and the impacts on my health, where it's at, and my energy levels and all the other things. We are optimistic and positive, and we know God's walking through us with this. I have a fear of needles. Yes, I'm a grown man. Have never had a problem putting in IVs and running lines, even under red lens with other people, but not a huge fan of needles going into my own body. So we have worked with other folks that have gone through chemo, family members, and just getting encouragement on that specifically. And then I've got some products that I'm going to talk you through. And one of the things I've been learning, obviously, the Army, when it comes to injuries, and I'm not making light of what I'm facing, but or the Army, but typically you're having like a lot of sports related orthopedic injuries just from training and all those things. So the typical initial response is, rest, take 800 milligram Motrin, and drink water. And I'm pretty sure that when they pull my liver out after I'm gone, it's probably going to have a Motrin tattoo on the side of it for the amount I put in my body over the last 30 years in the Army. But one of the things I am learning, obviously, I'm going to scan down so you can see all these things. This is both medication that I've taken post-surgery and then for pain management, along with other prescriptions. And then I'm going to talk you through some of the things that I've been prescribed that will help with, specifically with a couple of the side effects of the chemo that will enable me to continue to endure and make sure I'm taking care of those things so they don't have to either delay or reduce the amount of chemo, which we don't want because I'm definitely at high risk. I've always been a relatively healthy individual. If you're going into, when it comes to like taking supplements, like a lot of my discipline with nutrition is pretty crappy at times. But all those things we're diving deeper in with licensed dietitians at the hospital and just talking through best nutrition plans on chemo, keeping the immune system up because that's going to be vulnerable. I have to monitor how I feel with respect to getting ill. And I have a hard cutoff for temperatures or fevers. If it's 100.4, I have to go immediately to the emergency room where they will start. It takes about an hour to sign you in, and then you're all being in the chair, in the bed, getting pumped antibiotics because we cannot afford to have an infection. Which leads me to another warning that they gave me, especially if you have a different immune system or you have other, like what the word we learned during COVID, comorbidities. Be very vigilant. Your doctors need to know everything that you've had done, have what you're facing, so they can balance the medications, but also help you understand the warning signs of symptoms that you need to address. Motrin's great for pain. I prefer it personally, not just because I've used it in the past. They've warned me against Tylenol and other things that may reduce a fever or mask a fever because you don't want to think that you're okay and drop the fever when your body still is battling an infection while you're on chemo. So over the next 6 months, blessed to be in Hawaii because that cold and flu season in the winter going into there, at least temps wise, praying that I'll be less susceptible than if I was somewhere else. But we will definitely closely monitor that. And thankfully, we only live like 15 minutes from Tripler. Other things that I've learned, because I had 2 surgeries back to back. The first one, obviously, relatively more invasive, although it was laparoscopic and robotically enabled. Pain management during the surgery with the blocker that they put into my spine, which lasted about 3 days. And then oxycodone, or the pill equivalent of basically morphine, and then balancing that with Motrin and Tylenol. Amber, obviously, you need accountability because coming down off of general anesthesia, obviously the nurses were monitoring while I was in the hospital for that couple of days. I was not ready to manage my pill intake because it's just a ton of stuff to do. So have a schedule out. If you use those pill boxes, great. Amber and my sister Heather were my accountability just to make sure I was taking it because pain manifests itself differently in different people. And me, for sure, especially with nerve damage in my back and my legs. And then obviously the blocker coming off of that. That was a unique experience for me. I've never had one of those. And they said it would last 3 days, and it basically did. And I definitely am grateful for it. But I realized something. I was coming down off of it late Saturday night after the surgery because I was laying on the futon here in the living room because I couldn't get up and can't go up and down stairs. It felt like electrical pulses were going through my arms and legs. And I thought the futon was shaking or somebody was driving by or something was happening. But honestly, it was just that was starting to wear off. So that might be a sign or symptom for you as well. Obviously, with controlled narcotics, you're going to get a limited supply. And there's a couple of reasons for that. learning to manage your pain with Tylenol and ibuprofen is best, because the general anesthesia and like oxycodone, the more higher level potencies that you're taking, it actually prevents your body from healing faster. And the enhanced recovery after surgery program, not only are you getting in motion within limitations, eating within limitations, um, within 12 to 24, you got to start working to wean yourself off of this stuff, because they're going to give you a limited supply even when you leave the hospital. I do have some left, so I'm grateful I was able to stop a couple days early, properly dispose of these. There are drop boxes for controlled substances. I'm doing it tomorrow when I go up to Strickler. Also, first surgery. I've got this is where it started to get confusing for me, where I'm going to end up throwing a bunch of this stuff away. So the Motrin level and Tylenol level, the acetaminophen was the same doses at 325 milligrams. I was balancing. Amber had me doing alternating ibuprofen and Tylenol, which is a great way to do it. 2 surgeries, 2 bottles, got an excess of junk hanging out in the house. Those can be consolidated, not controlled substance, and I can use them later if I need them. I don't plan on using Tylenol at all during chemo or other fever masking or reducing. I'm going to let doctors manage that for me, because if I have a fever, I want to feel it. If I have pain, I want to feel it. So I actually make the right choice and go to the ER or follow doctor's advice. The Motrin, which is what started confusing me. First surgery for the right colectomy, it was a 600 milligram pill, which I accidentally took after the second surgery, and I was wondering why I was still feeling stuff. It's because the second surgery was 800 milligram. This is Ranger candy, the stuff we normally get. So obviously be aware of the milligram dosage you're taking, manage those, and take care of them appropriately. They also gave me muscle relaxers. Yeah, I got a lot of pills, which I need to get rid of because I don't need them anymore. This was very helpful. And it probably a balance of the fact that they're cutting through your muscles. And I was anxious and nervous too, which was tightening up my guts. But once my surgeon put me on these, it actually helped my back tightness relax, and my abdominals and my hip flexors, which were putting pressure on the surgical sites and just increasing the pain. So I found it very helpful, and it made a huge difference. And it actually helped me with my muscles being relaxed, although I was really tired and obviously sleeping a lot. It was very useful in coming off the oxy faster, because it was relieving some of the pain along with the ibuprofen and Tylenol. Another post-surgery thing that, although they warned me about, I just hadn't had surgery. So the first one specifically, especially with general anesthesia and going in for the right colectomy, they got to fill your body. They're working in tight spaces. They have to fill your body with gases, so they can kind of elevate all your stuff. They needed the space, especially for appendiceal cancer with this type of the Calvert cell or even signet ring cell, because it's mucus borne. They needed to check the peritoneal cavity, the organs, to make sure it hadn't spread, because it's very invasive. And in doing that, obviously, it took time moving my guts around and then pumping the gas in there. So a combination of that happens to be create an effect that these gases are still in your body as they close you up and get glued up. You start to have pain in your shoulders and back, and the gas is trapped and it needs to get out. So it's obviously helpful. They have the cuffs around your calves, both in surgery and then when I was in the hospital for the first 24, just because I was coming off the anesthesia and I obviously couldn't move. I had a catheter in and was doped up pretty good. I had a blocker in my back. So Amber was gracious enough, and this is for the best description is you really burping a baby. We have a little hand massage device. It's just a couple of balls on a handle. That worked great. I have a massage gun that we use just because my hips and back were getting tight from being in the bed or just being lack of mobility. And then I also have a massage chair that has heat and balls that rotate up and down for about 15 minutes. So um, all those things, whether you're alone and can't do it, you don't have anybody else to help you like Amber was, and I was just literally standing. She would run that handle on my back until I burped or and got some of the gas out and just continue to work because that pain in your shoulders and back is kind of weird and it's kind of epic and it's just you're already in a lot of pain. Do what you can through moving your body or having somebody manipulate your joints, your muscles, especially in your hips, as much as you can take for the pain that's going to be in your stomach, but really your back and hands and arms. Just relieve the stress and release the gas. And then one of the other weird side effects I did not expect, and I thought there was something wrong, but I talked to the surgeon about it. Um, so when they cut me basically at the C-section line, mine in the middle, right above, right below the belly button line, right above the privates, is where they had to pull the appendix and the right third of my colon out. That had to be a little bit larger. The danger in appendiceal cancer, especially with a mucus-like cancer, is that if it ruptures and spills into the abdomen, you essentially have just um, polluted, and it's going to very likely spread. So they needed the space. So they were very careful in both the reconnaissance phase in the first 45 minutes of the surgery. And then as they pulled it out, they were able to protect the appendix, keep it from bursting. And obviously they just had to cut a little wider. So that muscle was cut all the way through. And then on the left side over here, let's stand up. I'm not going to show you the scars, but that cut was right here. So it's connected to your abdominals, and it was also obviously connected to your groin. And then the stapler, which is the device that the robot and the doctors are using that goes in to cut everything and then put the titanium staples in your colon to close it back up, goes in there. So those are the two biggest scars, and then the scopes are 3 scars about half inch, kind of half moon shape around your top of your abdomen. Those healed relatively quickly, although there's still some tenderness as they continue to heal. I honestly, and I asked the surgeon this when I saw him post surgery. Thankfully, I have a man and a woman, so when I'm talking about privates, it's a little more appropriate. But I had swelling in my groin and in my testicle. I thought, and I asked him, when you were like doing this, were you like leaning your elbow into my right testicle? Because it feels so bad. It felt like it had been bruised. It was swollen. And he was like, no, I did not punch you in your privates. What happens is that sometimes that either blood from the surgery, some of the blood that they can't control, and or the gases can get down there. Obviously, when they cut my stomach, there's nerves and other things, and it felt like as it was healing, like depending on how I moved, so it probably looked like a weirdo with my walker walking down the hallways, kind of gimping on the right side. As my stomach moved, it felt like it was pulling that testicle, and thankfully it's healed. The swelling is down, but for all the other men out there, you definitely know what it's like to get hit in the groin. It hurts even worse when it's only one, and it's definitely a side effect if you're a dude. So it's not abnormal. Talk to your providers about it. They'll talk through you some of the what's normal, what's not. And then one more topic on specifically as we get ready to go into chemo. Obviously, I'm talking from a standpoint of this is what providers are telling me, and I'll give you more feedback on what it looks like when I actually feel it and have to experience it. A couple of the side effects of this specific chemo is that you get really dry skin on your hands and feet and the neuropathy in your hands and feet. Sensitivity to cold comes with that, and we'll see what level it kind of impacts me. A couple things that we've gotten that will help. This one specifically is for the port. It's lidocaine. You need at least 2%. This one's 5%. But let me see. Show you my. It's got this really cool shirt from friends of ours. The Peñas sent it to me. It's zipper enabled on either side for the port. Mine's on the right, and you kind of see the scars healing really nice for where they put it up into my jugular, and you can see the line running down from there into the port itself. Still a little banged up and bruised up. Got hit in the chest by a bear while I was in surgery. There's a port right there, so it's protected from infection. And then during chemo, I can just unzip my shirt and they can run the line in there, right into my chesticle. So should be nice, and it's nice and warm. The lidocaine about an hour prior is what people have recommended to me, and then there's it's like cling wrap. It's like pack and seal. I think it's the name of it, but we're getting it today, so it doesn't get the grease and stuff all over your shirt. This will numb the area and the port area. If you're someone like me that doesn't like needles, this is going to be right in my grill. I really don't like the initial poke. Breathing definitely helps so you don't pass out. But this will take care of the pain. Pack and seal will go over it. So unlike a Band-Aid, and you can see that I have, for the first time in my life, actually nared my chest for a couple of reasons. It'll be easier for getting the seals off and for them working on me because they had to do it for my both surgeries. But I wanted to have access, and then instead of putting like those harder seal Band-Aids around your port and using the lidocaine, the cling wrap pack and seal stuff is less adhesive but protective of the site. And then we'll put it around an hour prior, pack and seal it, kind of like a sucking chest wound, and then it'll keep my shirts clean. When we get there, we'll pop it off once I unzip, and then the nurses can, once I get my IV drug issued, clean it up really good, and then it'll still last. I won't feel the needle go in, and then I'll have about 2 hours in the chair for K-Pox. There's two other items that they issued me. They're because of the dry skin. They gave me, for you medical people, you can laugh at how I pronounce things, but you know the deal. Way too many syllables and vowels. Diclofenac sodium, arthritis pain reliever. That's for the hands and the feet multiple times a day. This is once per day. That'll help with the pain of the neuropathy. The urea cream 3 times a day for the dry skin. So he did warn me that with neuropathy, the dry skin can get to the point where they need to stop because it's cracked and bleeding. So don't want to stop, can't stop the chemo. And then with the pain and the neuropathy, you got to be honest with your provider. You're going to have neuropathy. It's going to be worse on chemo from what they say than it is off. But if you don't manage it and be honest with them, they can't dial back the chemo, and you may end up with permanent damage. And I'm not interested in not feeling my fingertips, losing dexterity and being able to feel things but in my own shirt, or have foot drop from being able to not walk. All right. So one final thing, and it's more just because it made me laugh. And both surgeries, I knew they were going to have to shave areas where they needed to do the surgery. And the teams and the surgeons and the tumor boards that have been taking care of me have been absolutely awesome. A++ for surgical procedures, pain management, post-op, and then hospital stay with all the nursing staff on the 6th floor. But what they didn't tell me is they only shave what they need to. So after both surgeries, I woke up not knowing what they would do and looking at myself. I was like, definitely did a great job in the surgery, but your manscaping is a big hairy F. Couldn't even, fade it up or anything. So the first one was weird waking up to that. And then when I woke up from the port placement surgery, they basically shaved because when you sign the paperwork, they don't know exactly how your veins are going to be, and they do a lot of scanning and everything else to make sure everything's good before they measure like 50 times before they cut, obviously, your jugular and whatever side they're going to put it on. But you have to agree that it's either left, right, or in your neck. Whatever presents and what they can do in case there's damage and or it's just not going to work, that's what you do. So they shaved my whole chest up from the nipple line and then left all my chest hair. So between the first surgery, which just shaved all my stomach off and all the way down, half my groin area, there was a strip of hair like right across here. I was like, man, I look like an idiot. You guys could at least, close it up and fixed it up. So I went ahead. Amber helped me get it nared up because they're going to be working in around the port. I don't want anything that could potentially contribute to an infection, at least on the skin and surface level. You do you. Whatever you feel comfortable with is whatever's going to work. To be honest, I don't really care. I'm not going to be out in the sun. I'm potentially losing all the hair on my head too. So the other thing they did say post-surgery, obviously with, if you probably still see it on I keep showing my boobies, part of them. At least for what they're doing here, this is the super glue, medical super glue that they put on there. So be very careful with that. It's already kind of coming off my neck because I obviously have to turn my head more, but it's still good on the surgical incision point. Post-surgery plus 2 weeks, you're not getting in, obviously, the ocean or swimming pool, not taking a bath. And for showers, I had to have help initially because I couldn't move that well. But wash yourself without scrubbing any of those areas to keep the glue to last as long as possible, at least the 2 weeks. And then once they give you the thumbs up, you can go ahead and wash it off. And then post, I think up to a year, you got to be really careful especially with exposure to sun, because of the sunlight on those fresh scars is going to make them look even worse. So I'm already scarred up enough. I'm going to try to protect my skin, and you need to do it anyway. Just kidding. I don't need skin cancer too. Okay. So that's it for where we stand on cancer. Thursday, 10:30, first round of chemo starts, 1st of 8, and that'll be the IV. And then we'll hit 14 days of pills, get a week's break, and just like we did yesterday with the labs, about 48 to 72 out, rerun the numbers, see where we're at, and Lord willing, we'll be able to just keep crushing rounds and hopefully staying infection-free, and the side effects are minimal, and we can manage the pain and the impacts. All right. One other challenge specifically for military folks that we've identified, and it's not impossible to overcome, but it is a little frustrating, and that I want to just make sure you all are tracking. Your medical providers will know. And as you get more into the system or you're more involved, especially if you're married, Amber knew more about the new digital transition for medical records, honestly, than I did. The military uses MH Genesis, and thankfully that's across the joint force. So me being able to go to the Navy clinic across the street for blood draws or pharmacy, TAMC, which is basically joint, but a lot of Army, or Desmond Doss up at Schofield, which has also been extremely helpful. Anything in the military system inside of MH Genesis is quickly uploaded, and providers can see it at multiple locations. So that's great, and it's going to help with reach back, the tumor board, progression of oncology treatment, and then hopefully charting and learning from such a rare cancer and how my body responds. It's going to be anecdotal. It's only one person. But if anything, hopefully it'll help the next person. Because I may be the only person in the Army or in DOD that actually has appendiceal galbacell adenocarcinoma. There is a difference. And I'm very grateful that I was for the team at Queens Medical Center. They are the ones that I have been referred off post for my colonoscopies, the 3 that I had, and obviously the one that found the cancer. Most civilian hospitals, at least the 2 that we were working with outside of the Army, Queens Medical Center in Honolulu, and then MD Anderson in Texas use what's called MyChart. Both MyChart and MH Genesis are effective tools. Honestly, MyChart's a little bit better, but MH Genesis works just as fine. You will have the problem that they cannot talk to each other. So what we would have to do, and that's a big reason. I mean, obviously, I want a hard copy book for Biff, and we're working through that so we can chart progress, and we have a physical reference document when we, for some reason, can't get in to MH Genesis or MyChart. Amber went through the process of, as we got into the referral, nurse case managers working that, we got MD Anderson reached out to us. You have to then re-upload and scan and put into PDFs all the stuff that you have. So it was easy for MyChart when I uploaded providers and facilities for Queens. They use the same thing. So boom, that all automatically populated, and they could all see it because I inputted the providers, and they can look into the documents and communicate with each other. I had to manually input the providers from Tripler, and you need to put in there, your surgical team, your oncology team, everybody that's your normal medical provider or your primary care provider. Just flatten the communication, get them in there, and then upload all the documents. And then from there, you're like MD Anderson specifically needed the slides from the pathology, which was at Queens. Tripler had to put in the request to move them from Queens to Tripler, and then from Tripler FedEx to MD Anderson, to prevent me having to pay a couple $1,000s out of pocket. It moves smoothly. You just got to know the steps because you don't want to miss it. And that's critical because anybody you go to is going to want to see the actual biopsy themselves. They also wanted an additional CT scan and blood work done, which is fine. All those things just need to be added onto the referral. So whatever they're going to do is automatically approved and covered. And then you work through with your normal unit as far as the medical TDY and then non-medical assisted travel if you're going to bring your spouse with you. All those steps take a little bit of time, but honestly, you can work it relatively quick. It will get approved, but you have to have providers involved to nominate and approve with letters. Your unit then works the TDY portion and creating a DTS account for your spouse, and then you can schedule from there and then settle your DTS when you get back. And then obviously you got to travel with all the contact information and numbers for your nurse case manager and other things. So if for some reason you need additional care and or you start scheduling with that other outside agency, it's seamless and you don't have delays. All right. And then the one non-related cancer thing, although it is kind of on the 31st of July, if you haven't been following it on Facebook, I don't think I put anything on here. The girls helped me toilet paper the house because when we were kids and teenagers, that's friends of mine and I toilet papered Amber's house out in, I can't remember, it's off of 199 or something like that, in Olathe, just outside of Olathe. And that's when I asked her to start dating me, which is weird because I signed it on the lawn. We did the same thing for this. And then when she came outside and saw it, I asked her to marry me again and gave her a ring this time because the first time we got married in Vegas. We will be renewing our vows in January. And this morning, we're actually going out to look at some venues where we're going to schedule that. So for those of you that would be following to see when we're locking in the date and or venue, either to see it on Facebook or YouTube, if you can't travel or if you're coming over the next week, we're going to decide on the date and see that because we got married over Martin Luther King weekend. We're looking at a couple different weekends surrounding that. And then obviously the venue for the vow renewal and the reception that will follow after that. So once we get that, we'll announce it. We'll get some pictures of the different venues and walk through it today and see what we think. And she obviously is going to be the key stakeholder in deciding that. It'll be better than Vegas, I promise. And I won't get her a plastic ring again. She got a real one this time. Okay. And then I've also formed on the YouTube portion of the page. I finally figured out how to do posts. So trying to save time and where I'm posting things between Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and not being at least being aware of who doesn't have what, to try to share the information to make it easier, less people either reaching out to find out what's going on, just level the information flow so you all can see what's going on if you have time. But we'll continue to do that on multiple sites when able. Obviously, as we go into chemo, I got to manage my energy, and obviously I'm focused on time with Amber and the girls, so I do this early in the morning when nobody's awake. But that's what the goal is, and we hope to at least continue to encourage and provide hope for people that may be going through something similar. But we all face challenges, and I hope that you find encouragement from this story, because regardless of what happens, nobody knows the number of days that you have. But I've always been focused on what can I do, how can I serve, what is God's plan, and trying to find that and match my vision and purpose to that. Obviously, I make a lot of mistakes and have in the past, but that's still my goal, to serve Him, to serve Christ, and to serve others, and leave a legacy for our daughters and our grandchildren, that they know that their dad loved them, their granddaddy that they probably never, they may never get to meet, loved them before they were even born, just like God does. He knew us from all eternity and knows the plan that He has for us. I'm going to close out today, and you can find it on the post. It's on Facebook, and then I actually added it up to YouTube as well with a graphic that I made, although still haven't figured out how to do the images right because my editing sucks. But I've been working on a poem. It's still draft. I don't know if it's going to be final yet, but over the last year, I have been at work trying to develop and just understand artificial intelligence. I'm not developing anything. I'm just trying to figure out how to use it best. This is a collaboration with artificial intelligence, and how I set the scope and boundaries and parameters of what I wanted, along with lines that I had written but couldn't quite fit them together. And I knew I needed to round it out. So depending on how you work with artificial intelligence and how you scope it and write your prompts, over the last year, I've learned that you can really refine the outputs, and then you can continue to edit and refine from there. So is it 100% original? No, but I think it is representative of the walk we're going through, and a good collaboration between prayerfully considering what I wanted to say and then using this tool to produce something that I hope can reach others, and most importantly, my family, and help me articulate and communicate very hard feelings that don't always come out of my mouth in the right way, but help with using paper and other things and writing and journaling. I can refine my thoughts before I just spit them out of my mouth. The poem is titled Grace Unfailing. I've walked through war, through desert lands, with rifle clenched in weary hands. The cannons roared, the ground turned red, while prayers were whispered for the dead. I've seen the weight of broken years, the cost of courage, blood, and tears. And yet through every gruesome night, God's grace has been my guiding light. Now battles rage within my frame, a silent war, no one to blame. Not fought with steel, but scans and scars, a field of pain beneath the stars. But even now, in my weakest hour, I feel His breath, I trust His power. The same strong hand that stilled the seas now reaches down to comfort me. I do not know how long I'll stand, but I am held in His sovereign hands. His mercy meets me in the fight, a blazing hope, a holy light. For grace is not just soft or kind, it's forged in fire, it lifts the mind. It carried me through war and strife, and now it holds my very life. So if I fall or if I rise, my Savior waits beyond the skies. This wounded soldier's heart can rest, for in His grace I am blessed. And the scripture that really inspired that for me as I was trying to find meaning and hope is 2 Corinthians 12:9. The King James Version is what I have on the poem. But my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. And God's grace continues to carry us, and with your prayers and support, you all and God are holding me up in this fight. And I know He is going to do something great and mighty with this, and it will be for His glory, and His will be done. And we will just continue to serve Him and walk it out. And I just pray that I have the courage to do it and continue to honor Him in everything that we do. All right, you all are part of the family now. Some of you may be thinking this guy shares way too much. But when it comes to friends, you're really just family that chose us. The rest of them, well, they're blood, so they don't have a choice. I'm part of your family. All right. Love you guys. Bye.